Good morning, Mteto. It's lovely to see you.
Hey, good morning, Sim.
So,
Morning, Minister.
all protocol observed.
Yeah.
So, Mteto, in 2001, ESCOM was ranked tops in terms of its capability, availability, professional excellence, etc. And you are tasked, together with the management, to make ESCOM great again. Um, but the first question I'd like to ask you is, what risks and opportunities does ESCOM create for the region? And in particular, given this audience and the people that are on the line, what risks and opportunities does it create?
For the region.
For the region, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, if you just start with South Africa, the fact that we're having load shedding, you look at the negative impact that had on small businesses, the unemployment situation, the fact that even just the general inflation that we have in the country, it went up at the back of load shedding. So a huge risk around growth for South Africa, just the development of the country itself, huge problems. And also, of course, many of these economies, many of these countries are dependent on South Africa or are integrated to South Africa. So what happens here has got an impact elsewhere as well. So my view is that if we had continued to have the problems that we're having, it would have a huge problem for the SADC region. But what are the opportunities? The opportunities linked to ESCOM is first, the fact that we as a business have embraced the change. We are not against the change. There's this narrative that is out there that ESCOM want to continue to do things the way they have always done it. No, we are actually embracing the competition that we're going into. The fact that we are now going to have competitors and we have to up our game within ESCOM, and that's actually a good thing. It goes back to how did we end up being that top utilities many years ago. We used to benchmark ourselves against the best in the world. Although there was no local competition, we were competing with the other people that were out there. And now we will have internal competition, and it's going to help us to innovate. It's going to help, of course, drive down the costs in South Africa around energy. And with an ESCOM that is doing well, there's going to be a huge. Already, we're starting to see ourselves having excess energy. Many people never thought that would be the case. Already we are having that. We're supplying some of that already to Zambia, and we could be doing a lot more of that as we go forward. So as we develop, as we drive down our costs around energy, it's going to have a ripple effect, positive impact across the whole region.
Fantastic. In that context, and in the context again of the African continent and the role that South Africa plays on the continent, talk to us about the just transition. The minister spoke about it, but how do you think about it at ESCOM from firstly a policy and then a strategic perspective?
Yeah, when you do these things, when I look at Standard Bank, I may be wrong, but just looking from far, you as an organization, you are not one of those people who want to be the first in things, but you want to be like a fast follower. You're
quoting Giacomo Marese.
You want to be a fast follower, which is always a good thing. You watch and you learn from the mistakes of others, and then you move in and you try and do better than those who moved early. And this is what has happened. We are fortunate as a region and also as ESCOM to be in a situation where we are followers of what has happened in Europe, what is happening in the US and elsewhere, and we can we can look at what has worked there and what has not worked and be able to integrate some of those strategies in terms of what we're doing here. What is very important, if you analyze the transition that is happening in many of those countries, is informed by one thing, and one thing alone: national interests. Very, very important. You know, if we now start being asked to do certain things that do not pay attention to our national interests, then that becomes a problem. So when you look at the strategy of France, if you look at their energy mix, it would not be a surprise to find that key to them is going to be a strong element of nuclear in their mix. Then you start to double click on that, say, why is it like that? And you start to find that, hey, this is a country that is very good, and it's one of the leading countries when it comes to nuclear. Hence, their mix has got some of that. You will see, countries like Russia, elsewhere. You start to understand that people pay attention to what are the challenges that are facing our country, and how do we use this opportunity to address those challenges. So my point here is that let us start by focusing. Let's not be worried about what other people are saying. Let us really, really be driven by driving, which is very much your point that you made there. Let us make sure that we align with the needs of the geography that we are serving. So as we look at that, we say, okay, we need to make sure that we align with the commitments that our country has made globally, but at the same time, we need to move at a pace whereby we do not undermine the energy security of the country. If I can take a step back into what we found when we got into Eskom as the new board, we found that the problem statement, going back to the point of the minister, the problem statement was problematic. The problem statement was saying that we've got an aging fleet, and the answer to that problem was, let's retire this aging fleet and allow the private sector to take over on the renewables. It may look like what's wrong with that, but with us going in and going deep into the organization, we actually realized that really the problem is not so much the aging fleet, but the problem was the reliability of the fleet. And to solve that reliability does not take, you don't have to necessarily retire the fleet, but you have to maintain the fleet. And then the resources that were focused on saying, no, we cannot take good money, throw it after bad, all of that, we had to change all of that and start to say, hey, let's put resources into maintaining what we have so as to have this energy security, which is very important. Then the next thing, now that we've got energy security, back to the energy trilemma of the minister, we have to start to thinking seriously about affordability, which is really our next big challenge that we're driving within Eskom now, to drive down the cost of electricity. But if you don't even have a product, you cannot have this preoccupation around cost. I'm not saying that it's not important, but you cannot even sell something. Right now is the right time for us to be focusing on the affordability question. And getting ourselves into renewables is part and parcel of driving down the costs, because you had that unit cost of the different elements of renewables has come down quite drastically. So we have to accelerate that. In the past as well, Sim, we were not participating. We were prevented from participating in renewables. It's like now you are being given a company, you are running a Standard Bank, and this company, you've got all of what you have is all of this coal fleet largely that has got an end of life. So you are running it, at some point you are not going to have a company because it got to the end of life. Whereas you need to be moving and say, okay, I may not be investing in coal, but I need to continue to generate electricity, and that generation capacity should be coming from renewables, which now, as the board, we have made that decision. We're going to be participating there, we're going to be competing with whoever out there, and we're okay with that. We've got the people that can help us to be able to compete.
Wow. Mteto, there's a lot there, so
Yeah.
let me just take you back again to a couple of things. So I showed you that picture that was circulating, the candle picture with all those lights on.
Yes.
And we're now just over 6 months with no load shedding. Won't you just talk to the audience about precisely what was done to get us there and what were the milestones, especially in the context of the professional skeptics?
Yeah. You know, what has been strange for me, let me start there, I'm going to answer your question. What has been strange is that the kind of attack that we're getting, it's like we've come in and we're the one who have caused load shedding, when in reality we have actually solved load shedding. You know, and it's just strange how, in particular, the media is looking at this thing. It's like, but anyway, that's it. It's just an observation which I do not understand. So what has happened? I think a number of things came together, a number of things. I will start with leadership for me. Leadership matters. Leadership matters in everything. If you think about a rural school that is consistently delivering exceptional results, they do not even have internet, but they're producing great, the results. If you look deeply, what is the cause? Why is the school doing so well? You'll trace it back to the principal. You'll trace it back to the leadership of that school. My point here is, when I look at, the minister said that Eskom has got the highest number of engineers, technical people, all of these people, really, really competent people. But they were let down by leadership. Not at different levels. They were let down by leadership. And so we should not blame the employees of Eskom, at the same, which means that by just making changes at a leadership level, it can have a huge, huge impact. So leadership, and what do I mean by leadership? Leadership at a board level, leadership, the kind of support that we're getting from the minister, the support that was not there. That's leadership. Being given the space for us to do what we know how to do, that's leadership. And having people that you can call on and say, hey, this is the kind of help that we need from government, and those people are go out and be able to get that kind of support. That's leadership. So that's board, that is the government. At the same time, things are done on the ground in Eskom. Leadership starting with the CEO. You need to have somebody that can connect and understand what the problem is. You need to you cannot have a leader that is leading, but when he looks behind him or her, there's nobody following. What are you leading? So leadership is also that. Have people that are supporting you, what you are trying to do. So leadership at that level is very important. Leadership, we had to make a big change in the generation, which is the area where load shedding was happening. The generation leadership, we had to find someone who understands that environment. And in turn, that person did all sorts of things to go and identify at power station level, do we have the right people? I always say that in some areas we had leaders that were not leading, we had managers that were not managing. If you are in that environment, you'll have chaos. You understand, I look at in a household, if you've got parents that are not parenting, you understand what is happening there. So That is another thing. At all levels, leadership. So that's the first big thing. When you start to have an environment where, if a leader is going around the power station, they are looking and they're seeing all of these lights, red, green, yellow, blue. They don't think, hey, this is the Christmas tree, and they become excited. They understand that maybe there's a problem there. They can be able to interpret what is going on. People that are able to do that. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, when you are putting together a turnaround plan, it needs to be informed by the realities on the ground. To have something that you just come from the top with a solution and think that is going to be, people will say, oh, okay, because you are the most senior person, okay, let's see. But how is this solution of his or her talking to the problems that we all know that they're here on the ground? But in our situation, we had a very deep engagement with the people on the ground. So when we came up with a generation recovery plan, it was informed largely by the situation on the ground, and it was also incorporating the ideas of the people on the ground. So you don't have to now go and sell this to these people, because they can see themselves, they can see their ideas in the plan that you are presenting. So they embrace it and they drive it, they own it. So that's the second big thing, having a plan that is informed by the realities on the ground. I think it was Ronald Reagan who said that, I don't know, he may not be the most popular person to be quoting, but he said something that I like. He said, you must trust, but verify. Give the people the space, go do that, allow them to do that, but don't wait until it's a year to check whether, are they doing what they should be doing? You have to verify. So we were very, very strong on trusting and empowering the people, but at the same time checking whether things are being done, yes or no. So that's the next big thing. The next thing was about creating an environment where you are changing the culture here. So one of the levers that we needed, the minister helped us a lot around that, the incentives. The incentives, we know in private sector, is something that is so important to drive the behavior in the right direction. All of those had been removed. I call that collective punishment. Just because ESCOM is not performing, we're removing no salary increases for 5 years, no short-term incentive, no long-term incentives. But what tools does then leadership have to drive the behavior in the right direction? So we brought all of those things back. That then creates an environment where now we do not have to be driving things from the top. They are competing. The power stations are competing for excellence. That's what you want. Even if we're not there, things are just going to continue to happen. You are putting the right structures to drive the right change in the culture of the organization. So those are, I would say, some of the things that we did in order to get us to where we are right now. Again, using science. So instead of looking at, oh, this is a big problem, how do you focus on those areas of high leverage? Focus on a few things that are going to give you the most impact. So did an analysis to find that it's only 6 power stations that were contributing 75% of the problems. Makes the job so easy. Let's focus on those 6 power stations, Then people ask me, why didn't other people do and think about all of these things? I would say, go and ask them. I don't know.
Mteto, the time police tell me that we've got 30 seconds left.
Oh, okay.
But there's one last question that I'd like to ask you, and then we can close. And that is, we know that we are where we are because of lack of maintenance, lack of operations, and lack of resilience. talk to us quickly about how you are thinking about that in generation, in transmission, and also in distribution. Just a summary of, yes, we need the infrastructure, but what about operations, maintenance, and resilience?
Maintenance has always been part and parcel of how standard operating procedures of a power station in the past. Think about it, what I was saying, that if you've got leaders that are not leading, you end up with certain disciplines that should be followed, not being followed. People are supposed to go and take a reading, they're supposed to go and take a pressure thing there, they're supposed to remove a particular equipment to check after so many hours of running. If those things are not being done, then you end up with what we found there. But then just by putting the right leaders who are going to be instilling and insisting on following standard operating procedure, insisting on when we've got a problem, let us find the root cause of this problem so that we can learn and make sure that we then share this learning across all of our power stations. Those things have always been there, but somehow they were no longer being followed. So we had to go back to the things that many people know how to do them, but it's just because we were not, we didn't have the right leaders to drive the behavior that is really required in those power stations. So it's not going to go away. It's now part and parcel of how we do things, and we know where it led us. It led us to be where we are now, where we were, and we do not want to go back there.
Well, Mteto, I could talk to you forever, but I am told that time is up. Thank you very, very much. You took us from the highest levels of policy and strategy to the minutiae of maintenance. Much of this is going to be discussed during the course of today, but thank you. And I just want to say that what you've done for the country and what your team have done for the country, we see you and we thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.